He's been doing that work and is responsible for formulating and representing the company's public policy positions worldwide. We're glad that you're here, Mr. Manager. You may proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm also very happy to be here, and I appreciate you and Mr. Smith holding this hearing and inviting me to testify. I was going to read my written statement, but since that's already part of the record, I think it probably is more important that I take on one particular issue in my 5 minutes. First of all, we fully appreciate the value of scanning books and making them more widely available. We began scanning books before Google did, and to date we've scanned 3 million books. 3 million books we've scanned. The difference is, and probably the only significant difference between their book scanning project and ours, is we first sought permission from the rights holders. We went to the rights holders and one by one negotiated deals with the rights holders to be allowed legally to scan these books. It's been said repeatedly that this is a non-exclusive arrangement, that the proposed settlement would somehow not be exclusive, would not give Google exclusive rights over competitors. That simply is not true. The proposed settlement, if approved, would give Google exclusive liability-free monopoly rights over millions of works. Exclusive. Now, this exclusivity has two principal components, and I thought it would be most helpful if I explained how this exclusivity arises. One is the release from liability. Now, clearly, as any settlement of a class action would do, it releases Google for past actions. But this settlement goes much further. It releases Google prospectively for future infringement. It even, as Mr. Drummond outlined, releases Google for future infringement using business models that they haven't even used yet. This is remarkable for a class action settlement, to say the least. The other aspect of exclusivity is the composition of the corpus. What body of works are available to Google with this exclusive release of infringement liability? Well, first, the corpus initially available to Google is essentially everything, right? It's U.S. books in copyright published before January of this year. It's all that. Everything minus a few opt-outs. There are opportunities for rights holders to either opt out of the proposed settlement, so they can pull their works out that way. And there are also exclusion and removal procedures where rights holders can opt out their works out of the Google corpus. Well, what does a competitor get? Nothing, except what is opted in by rights holders. Rights holders can opt in to have a competing distributor of digital books in two ways. One is the traditional, the time-honored way, going out and negotiating one-on-one with rights holders. This is what Amazon has done for its 3 million books. We've done this, and the rights holders clearly have opted into this. The other way arises within the proposed settlement, if approved. This other way would be through the registry that has been discussed by Mr. Drummond and others. The registry has its own problems because it would combine erstwhile competitors in an agreement which would allow them to fix prices for books. But setting aside that, we have to ask, what is the corpus available to the registry? The corpus available to the registry is, again, limited only to the rights holders who have opted in their works. So what does this mean overall? Google gets everything minus some opt-outs. Competitors get nothing plus some opt-ins. Well, what do orphans do? By definition, orphans don't do any opting. They won't be opting out. They're not found. They're not potentially findable. They won't be opting in to the competitor. So by this mechanism, Google has exclusive, liability-free monopoly rights over millions of works which are orphans. They also have, in addition to the orphans, the same circumstance applies to rights holders who could be found with a diligent search. as would have been required by the Orphan Works legislation. But they're just not interested. They're busy with other things. They've moved on in their lives, whatever. But they don't opt out of the Google corpus, and they don't opt in to the competitor's corpus. Again, the proposed settlement would set up a monopoly for Google for liability-free treatment of millions of works. And I look forward to your questions. My time is out.
Thank you very much. We now are pleased to hear from Dr. Mark Maurer, President of the National Federation of the Blind. As its president, he is leading the organization